r/AskReddit. Girls of Reddit, what do you think the worst part about being a guy would be? I found out the other day you can accidentally brush the end of your, on the inside of the toilet bowl. I'm still shuddering. Imagine if it was a public toilet hour. My wife wanted to know what it was like to pee standing up, so I let her steer. The words "wait, why is it going that way?" were the funniest thing ever. Now she understands. Testicles just dangling there, all vulnerable. When people get suspicious of you for liking to interact or work with children, the stranger dangerments it can be hurtful to men. Being shamed by a decent portion of society for expressing emotions and or vulnerability. Honestly, men's genitals seem to be pretty out of control from their brains from the stories I hear. Like, a random boner does not sound pleasant, especially when everyone would tease you for it. Not being touched affectionately throughout your childhood. Until I was present for a conversation with my boyfriend and his friend, I had no idea how psychologically taxing dating apps are for many dudes. It seems girls take for granted that they're, in most cases, going to get a variety of likes and therefore options, and to some degree, reassurance. Feels bad that many guys don't share that experience and gets wiped on only a handful of times, with a likely chance the conversation fizzles. I can't fathom how discouraging and demoralizing that would be. Being seen as a creep for complimenting others. Not being able to have a romantic partner unless you ask them out first. I guess having a ton more testosterone would help, but it would still suck. My GF said, pressure to be a man, which is a very Reddit answer. Not being taken seriously. When I say I'm sad, I'm really sorry guys. I know you have it hard, but seriously, you aren't alone. There sure are people ready to listen that won't say stupid things like "man up, congratulations for being so strong, and honestly, you're awesome." The expectations of being horny all the time and getting hard easily. Pressure to earn money and it not being socially acceptable for guys to quit their jobs and be house husbands while their wives work. Finding out I have a secret kid somewhere. Friend of mine had no idea he had a daughter until she was 18 and found him online. Mother didn't want child support or anything, but he missed out on her whole childhood. She didn't know about him until she was 18 and found pictures of him. Her mom had hired a private detective to follow him. They both have a lot of resentment to the mom, and he wasn't really sure how to parent a rebellious 18-year female. It is a whole thing. Body standards and societal expectations. Girls are often judged on their appearances, but guys are too, and we tend to ignore that. Like, you can ask a guy for his height, but when he asks your weight it's suddenly offensive and shallow, and it shouldn't matter. Being seen as creepy if you try to make the first move in a relationship. Having no divider between you and the guy using the urinal next to you. I don't want to get a boner when my uncle hugs me. Getting boners. Not being able to have good fashion sense without getting called gay. Sweat. Random erections. Sticking to inner thigh. And the expectations placed on a male. Double down at bullshit imagery of men. So you're supposed to be both ripped and anorexic? I see some of these pictures of men on magazines, and it's like, so dude's veins look like they are going to collapse. He doesn't have an ounce of fat on his body. TBH to me. It's a disgusting look and I feel super bad for them. But at least we are just supposed to be anorexic. Can't imagine having to starve and somehow pull off being muscular. Also having no emotional outlets. Every man I've known was so freaking alone. The fact that when men are raped or sexually assaulted, it's rarely talked about. Being stuck in this transitional society where, if you listen to your grandfather's advice on women you will go to jail, then as soon as you show empathy or good communication skills you are mocked and ridiculed and compared to the worst thing any man could ever consider, a woman. The crushing loneliness I hear single men in middle adulthood describe. I don't have many close friends, but I have one or two I know I can count on when I need to process emotions. I know of several men who would say that while they have buddies they can grab a drink with or play games with, They have no one with whom they can be emotionally vulnerable. I can't imagine living like that for years on end. Having to be the brave one in a relationship and deal with all spiders and whatever else scary bugs get into the house. Literally had to call my husband last night to deal with a live mole that my cat lovingly brought into the house for me to play with. I think females would be surprised how little people care about you. Being held responsible for every bad thing every bad man ever did. I doubt a lot us women can really comprehend how easy we have it in some ways, because we are always kinda seen as either victims or helpless. It also has some serious downsides to it, but no one holds us as responsible for bad behavior as men are. And I don't think that is fair. Having to be constantly aware that people can accuse you of outrageous things, and by default everyone goes against you, and believe the victim, even if it maybe isn't true. Before comments come, this might be a bit bluntly written, and I'm not at all saying that some men aren't awful. That men aren't men if they are sensitive, have fears, or anxiety. As a guy reading this, I'm amazed at the amount of girls just saying or balls problems. I've read a couple of actually real important problems, but most of them seem to be clueless about what a guy goes through in his life. I think all the pressure to fulfill a masculine ideal would really suck. Always being told that you are a failure if you don't prove that you are physically strong enough, and not being allowed to express powerful emotions other than anger would be hard. Of course there are a lot of men who are positive role models, or who are able to reject these outmoded stereotypes of what it means to be a man. But growing up with a constant barrage of messaging about this would probably make me really anxious and exhausted if I were a man. Out of all the hardships and pressures men face, all women are talking about is genitals. Hiding random boners, or a more serious one as someone that's studying to become a teacher. It's disheartening to see how some people, parents, and colleagues alike, sometimes see the male counterparts as possible pedophiles. Like, what is wrong with today's society if a man that loves playing with children and teaching them is way more often seen as a pedophile in comparison to us? As a woman, I'm the only person who decides when and with whom I reproduce. Birth control is extremely effective, and even if I do get knocked up, I ultimately make the decision to continue or terminate the pregnancy. Aside from the poor souls on I didn't know I was pregnant, women don't get put on the situation of surprise. Here's our baby. You're stuck with us now. Not having this power seems absolutely terrifying. You guys getting a boner in the weirdest times and not being able to talk about your feelings and insecurities and shit. I feel like it's all just kinda shitty for y'all. From dating to jobs. There is just so much expected from you, and if you show weakness you're gay or a sissy, or whatever, you can't even address your problems. It's always just be a man. Showing emotions and other males thinking you're a trying to live up to the ridiculous masculine expectations put on you simply for having a penis. Feeling the need to suppress your emotions and be the man as a result of age-old societal expectations. Also fearing being called gay when you show the slightest sign of emotion or being sensitive to something, which doesn't make sense. Anyway, I know lots of men deal with depression and are afraid to reach out. I wish they could feel safe enough to do so. The lack of anyone to share deep emotions or worries with. As a woman, I can confide anything in my close friends and get genuine, heartfelt responses. My so says he would never in a million years be willing to share anything like that with his best friend he grew up with, because guys just don't do that. So my so has female friends that fill that void. However, for many men, it's deeply frowned upon to have female friends too, because it's impossible for men and women to be friends platonically in some people's minds. So it's a lose-lose. Being seen as a bad person just because of your gender. It would suck to be not allowed to interact, care for, show affection to kids unless you're extremely attractive. Like WTF. Not being able to show sadness without it being seen as a hugely vulnerable thing to do. I hate it that men can't show their feelings except manly ones like anger. According to statistics, there are more women diagnosed with mental illnesses than men. I don't want to imagine how many men suffer of them, but are too afraid to get help. I have a friend who wasn't allowed to cry in front of his family because of this. Years later he wasn't even able to cry. One day he told me proudly that he could shred a tear. Not crying, just a tear. This was heartbreaking, but at the same time I was so proud of him because he came that far. I have a couple of theories. Here they are. They do not involve dicks and balls. Taught. 1. Men are so pressured to not feel anything, and when they do want to express some kind of feelings, it feels like society will only accept violence and rage as valid expressions. 2. I don't think younger guys have any healthy reference to dating and relationships. I've seen friends and my brothers date some pretty toxic people, and they had no frame of reference for it. 3. This comes from my husband. My husband takes genuine happiness from being a dad, but there is a lot of aspects from being a parent in society that is just no available for men. Every book, every TV show, every single resource is written in the perspective of women taking care of children. Many things won't change, but he sure would like some male perspective in the subject. P.S. Sorry, English is my second language. I think the worst part about being anyone is the expectations. No matter who you are, everyone puts expectations on you. You don't get a choice in them. You are just expected to be, to do, or to say what it is that they expect of you. I imagine it sucks to have to pretend you don't enjoy lovely and beautiful things all the time. I imagine sunsets look just as beautiful to men as they do to me, but I'm allowed to get excited about it. Having people assume I like to use a 3-in-1 shampoo, conditioner and shower gel combo. Everyone deserves to pamper themselves. What is this shit? Since there's a lot of women in this thread thinking about the issue, one suggestion I haven't seen in this thread: there's a much bigger double standard when it comes to how unattractive men are treated. Unattractive women aren't expected to be monks, even amongst their friends, because the very suggestion that they might have a libido and might want in any way to express those desires is considered revolting. And when a woman is less frequently rejected by a man, it is less likely to be venomous for them to make a scene designed to embarrass or shame you, or to straight up threaten to call the cops or the staff on you for daring to introduce yourself. A bit disheartening that most of the responses are about genitalia / constantly being seen as a threat or danger, especially to kids. Being shamed for so many things, mainly by all your friends, like feeling emotions, wanting to wear something that only girls wear, being a human being, etc. Close bracket. Being told you need to be a man and not show emotions, not cry, like you are weak if you do. The whole men not being able to work through or show emotions and be manly men. I'm glad I'm semi-allowed my wild period mood swings, which is beyond my control. Living in fear of being thought of as unworthy by your best buds, your woman or guy, and your family, all of which have views that often conflict directly with each other. Dealing with or being around macho type guys who test or question your or their masculinity. The threat of humiliation or bodily harm by assholes. I would think the fear of losing your children in a custody battle to a woman that really doesn't deserve them. I've seen this play put more than once in cases where the woman is batshit crazy, or broke, unemployed, and straight admits that she'll just live on the child support and food stamps while the guy works 2+ jobs. The custody courts are biased to mom, and as a woman I find that appalling. Just because I pushed out the kid does not automatically make me the better choice. IDK if it's been said already, but false rape accusations from crazy people. One night stands gone wrong. I've heard of too many of it. Sometimes you don't know they crazy before, and if they start being clingy and acting crazy, next thing you getting rape charges. Nah man, I'll stay virgin till marriage. A male came here to see which girls would make valid points and which ones just seem stupid. Random boners. Really? You think that would be the worst parts from them all? That's pretty sad that you think we have it so nice and easy, but girls have all the problems in the world, right? Edit. Well, maybe it's a Reddit problem too. Something sexual or funny equals thousands of upvotes. Something serious and thoughtful equals sits at 1. I feel like people being scared of me just for being a dude. Well, I've heard that boys don't get compliments much. The thought that any spiteful woman could make false allegations of rape or other abuse against you in an attempt to destroy your life and reputation. Even though I'm a guy, ladies, when you give us a compliment, it will make our day 10x better, even if it's something small. Having to initiate constantly. The stereotype of having to make the first move, dealing with the crazy girls and random boners. How does that work? Maybe not the worst, but still pretty psychologically damaging, would be the lack of compliments. A thing I found out 3 days ago from a different AskReddit thread. I could not imagine trying to go about my daily life with no validation. Please tell your good guy friends that you love them and they're doing good stuff. Even if they trained themselves to not need it, they deserve to be complimented anyways. Damn. This thread is disheartening. I hate how people say men have it so easy. Everyone has it rough. If you don't think that, you need to get decked. Hair everywhere. 1 to 2 orgasms tops in a sitting. Everyone expecting you to be manly. Not having access to and or being able to express the full spectrum of emotions. Only getting physical affection from one person if you're in a relationship, or none otherwise. I hug and cuddle my girlfriends all the time and no never looks askance. I imagine that would feel extremely isolating and depressing. I wish guys being close to their friends was normalized, at least in the States. I know in many countries it already is. The dumb height thing. Who TF cares about it? Doesn't matter. Sexist girls